So this past Mother's Day makes it 3 years since Suzanne Morphew disappeared. So now there's a new interview with Barry Morphew and his daughters, and he is suing prosecutors and some of the investigators, and I think if there's anybody else, but he's basically suing them for them charging him and them basically ruining his reputation, he's saying, by these false accusations. But the way that they left it is they could still go back and charge him again. So I don't think he's in the clear. I mean, the thing is I don't think they have any doubt that he is the one that did it. He's the one involved. He's the guy. But I think what their problem is they don't have enough evidence. It's frustrating. But anyway, there's a new interview that came out. And then, of course, the whole thing with him suing them, the prosecutors and investigators and stuff. And so there's a few the news channels that are talking about it. So I'm going to play them and kind of have like a reaction commentary type thing where I won't stop it too many times, but I will stop it a little bit and talk and give my thoughts. Okay. So the first one we're going to watch is Good Morning America. Title: Husband Sues After Murder Charges Against Him Dropped.
What have these last 3 years been like for you?
Very, very sad. Very confusing.
Just so traumatic. Like, literally, our worst nightmare.
Okay, I don't mean to be a jerk, but why does this not feel real? Why does her reaction feel like a bad movie? Like not even good acting and like almost like somebody making fun of a movie. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that the daughters don't have any doubt that their dad did it. Okay, let me continue.
Did you have anything to do with the disappearance of your wife?
Absolutely not. It's very hurtful to lose your reputation and your integrity.
You know what else is hurtful, Barry? Murdering your own wife and then lying to your kids. That's a hurtful thing. I'm just saying, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying that, just throwing out what else is hurtful. Is a husband murdering his wife, covering it up, and then lying to his kids and saying, oh, I didn't have anything to do with it. And then claiming he's a good Christian boy.
Barry filing a $15 million civil suit against prosecutors, the sheriff, and several investigators.
So I know that 15 million is a huge number, but I don't think that, in my mind, that covers any of the damage that's happened to Barry and the girls.
I know he's innocent. And if they would just look for Suzanne outside of where they hypothesize Barry could have possibly buried her remains, they could find her.
His daughters standing by him.
You never had a shred of doubt once you heard the evidence from law enforcement against your dad?
I've never had a shred of doubt.
Not one.
No, that doesn't even sound sincere. They have like those surprised looks on their face, or like one of those those looks where it's like, no, I didn't do that, huh? Whoa, like it's like so obvious, but they're like, oh no. I don't know if I could describe it right, but it's almost like when, for instance, let's say a movie is making fun of another movie by like being so obvious and being like, no, what, me? I don't know. I mean, what is going on here? It just seems like a bad movie right now, this interview. I hope I'm not like upsetting anybody by this, but come on now. Come on, Mallory and Macy. You know better. Like, okay, maybe I could understand, okay, I'm trying to support my dad. But to say you have no doubt, but I guess I get it. You're in front of your dad. You are trying to support him. But you know deep down that they have at least a little doubt, if not a lot.
Prosecutors say at the time they believed that they were close to finding Suzanne's body and dropped those charges against Barry, hoping for additional evidence. Authorities tell ABC News they still believe Barry Morphew could be involved in his wife's disappearance and aren't ruling out future charges.
Law enforcement, the DAs, believed that they had their guy, and they believe that there's a mountain of evidence against you. There's just not Suzanne's body.
They're wrong. They've got tunnel vision. And they looked at one person, and they've got too much pride to say they're wrong and look somewhere else.
These charges were dropped without prejudice, which means if authorities feel like there's more evidence, they could charge you again. Do you live with fear of that?
Well, I was innocent the first time they arrested me, so I'm sure it's possible. But I don't have anything to worry about. I've done nothing wrong.
Was there any indication before she disappeared that something was amiss?
No.
Did you observe any fights, arguments, disagreements between your mom and your dad that concerned you before?
No.
Prosecutors offering texts which appear to show a strained marriage, Suzanne referring to Barry as Jekyll and Hyde, and just before she disappeared telling Barry, "I'm done." Suzanne confiding in a friend, "Macy and I had a very tough talk yesterday. She's weary of the tension here. She knows how he is toward me and almost begged me to divorce him. He's still pulling Mal in." But Barry and his daughters deny the marriage was in trouble.
So right there, her mom is not going to lie. Suzanne's not going to lie to her friend about what her daughters feel. Well, I mean, why? What would be the point of her lying to her friend saying, "Oh, Macy wants me to divorce him. She knows how I feel," or she knows how he treats me and she begs me to divorce him. Why would she lie to her friend about that? Makes no sense. Because I'm sure it's the truth. So the fact that they sit up here in this interview and say no, that they don't have any doubt and know that they didn't see any trouble in the marriage, that's bullcrap, because look what Suzanne just wrote. So of course, at least Macy saw trouble in the marriage because she begged Suzanne to divorce him. So she was seeing what was going on. So the fact that they sit up there and say, no, we didn't see anything. They were fine. I know they didn't elaborate, but the reporter asked, "Did you see any trouble in the marriage?" No, not at all. But I mean, it's all over their face, especially Macy's. So that does make sense that she's the one that it looks like is just not being very honest. And she's the one that, at least from the text, and I feel like from what we know, the one that was kind of on her mom's side, and from her mom's text right there, knew how Barry treated her mom and begged her to leave him. So yeah, that's what we're reading all over her face, because she's probably not a good liar. So it's coming out in that little, like, that whoa, confused, lost type face. All right, let's finish the rest of this. It's making me mad.
We had a wonderful life, wonderful marriage. She was just so loving and giving and such a good mother.
Before her disappearance, Suzanne fighting cancer.
And I know that she was going through chemotherapy for the last couple of years before her disappearance, and I know she was going through some hard things and made some bad decisions.
What kind of bad decisions?
She was really having trouble with the chemotherapy and the drugs.
So is he insinuating that she had a drug problem? Is that what he's trying to say? And does anybody know if there's any factual basis to base this on, like what he's saying? Is there anything that came out that suggests that she may have had a problem with drugs? Just curious.
Investigators also say she was involved with someone else.
When you found out that Suzanne was having an affair, what was your first thought?
My heart was broke. My heart was broken. I didn't believe it.
What's been the hardest part?
Just not having Mom.
Yeah.
Not knowing.
It's really difficult, especially because of the lack of closure we have.
So let's watch the court TV video that they did, on Barry and him suing the prosecutors and stuff like that. They discuss it. I believe they play clips of this interview also. So here it is.
Suzanne Morphew went missing back on Mother's Day in 2020. The 49-year-old mother was reported missing after she allegedly went for a bike ride and never came back home. Authorities believe that she's dead, but her remains have yet to be found. Her husband, Barry Morphew, has long been suspected in her disappearance. He was arrested. He was charged with first-degree murder back in 2021. But in April of 2022, all of the charges against him were dropped. The case was dismissed without prejudice, meaning it can still be refiled. KOAA reporter Natalie Chuck has more.
Barry and his daughters are relieved, but they're sad because they too Want to know where Suzanne Morphew is?
Suzanne's husband, Barry, was arrested back in May of 2021, expecting to face a murder trial. His wife vanished on Mother's Day in 2020. Her body has never been found. The prosecution filed a motion to dismiss the case without prejudice, meaning they can charge Barry again at any moment. The judge ultimately siding with those prosecutors, a disappointing but not surprising outcome for Barry's defense attorneys, who believe there should not be any chance Barry is charged again.
The writing was on the wall as a result of the judge's absolutely very conservative findings. Honestly, the judge should have dismissed this case.
A couple of weeks before the dismissal, the judge ruled that 12 out of 14 of the prosecution's expert witnesses would not be allowed to testify. A big reason one local expert I spoke with believes the prosecution wanted to drop the charges.
Rather than proceed forward with a Hail Mary, so to speak, on trying to get a conviction for first-degree murder, they're opting to dismiss that, hoping that they will run into some more evidence.
Now, the prosecution is banking on finding Suzanne's body, saying they think they have an area pinpointed, but believe she is buried under feet of snow and need more time to search.
Just real quick, how many of you guys think that they're going to find her? And if they don't find her, that they're going to be able to find enough evidence to charge him again? Or do you think that they are going to have to find her body in order to charge him again? And if not, then they'll never be able to charge him. I'm just curious what you guys all think, and leave in the comments what you think. The possibility of them being able to still charge him, convict him, if they don't find her.
We have to take that with a degree of skepticism. Obviously, I think if they had a bit more particulars and an isolated location of where the body was, they would indicate that and ask for a continuance rather than dismiss charges, right?
Meanwhile, Barry returns to Chaffee County, free of an ankle monitor and free of any charges.
Now, Barry Morphew has filed a $15 million civil rights lawsuit against prosecutors and members of law enforcement. He's claiming that they engaged in malicious prosecution, unlawful detention, the fabrication of evidence, conspiracy, and more. Now, in an exclusive interview with ABC News, Barry Morphew, with his daughters by his side, spoke out for the first time since filing that lawsuit, claiming that investigators had tunnel vision.
They've got tunnel vision, and they looked at one person, and they've got too much pride to say they're wrong and look somewhere else.
These charges were dropped without prejudice, which means if authorities feel like there's more evidence, they could charge you again. Do you live with fear of that?
Well, I was innocent the first time they arrested me, so I'm sure it's possible. But I don't have anything to worry about. I've done nothing wrong.
Oh, it's possible. And is the smartest thing for him to do in the meantime? File a lawsuit against the government, who, by the way, remember, the government has immunity. Let me bring in my guests, see what they think about this. Dr. John Delatorre and attorney Dwayne Cates. Dwayne, got to go to you first on this one. Do you think this suit is going to go anywhere for Barry Morphew?
I think it will, partially because the prosecution left out key evidence in their presentation to the grand jury. I mean, there was DNA, male DNA found, on several items that excluded, Barry. And so.
Okay, so what do you guys make of that DNA that wasn't Barry's? Pretty sure it was male DNA, not Barry's. Whose the heck DNA was it? I'm guessing it probably has nothing to do with her disappearance. Barry lucked out. It just probably was maybe somebody, a friend of hers, or somebody that she was seeing, or whatever it may be. But yet it was not his DNA. And now there's doubt of possibly somebody else being there and being involved and it not being Barry. Or what if it's somebody that maybe Barry hired? Somebody working with Barry to do this. But the thing is that they got to find that person and figure that all out. They don't have any, I'm sure they don't have any leads for it. They haven't figured it out. And then therefore they don't include it to the grand jury, and it screws up a lot. I mean, I know there's probably more to it than that, but that was I think a big thing. They have to give all their evidence that they have, right? Even if it goes against what their theory is, right? So the fact that they left that out just looks really bad. So does anybody have any theories though on whose you may think that is? And wonder why they couldn't narrow that down. I know they can't just ask people, oh, give me your DNA, so it has to already be in the system, but dang, you would think they would. Well, yeah, who's gonna willingly give their DNA in a murder case? I guess if you're innocent, but then no, because then that DNA could incriminate you even if you are innocent. It puts you with the person, right? So yeah, who will willingly do that? Because even if they're not involved, it still makes you nervous because that can incriminate you. That can make the law enforcement think that you're involved because your DNA is there. And it could just be no, I was just there, we were just hanging out or whatever. But you know how that goes? I mean, I don't know how that would go. If somebody just comes forward and it's yeah, I'll give you my DNA. Oh yeah, I was with Suzanne. I don't think just DNA in itself and that's all would be anything to charge anybody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if there's no other reason to believe. I mean, if this person comes forward and says, oh no, I was with her, we were doing this, and it could be proven somehow. I don't know, that's tricky. Because at first I was just yeah, why wouldn't, if you're innocent, give it to him? But no, that in itself might make them think that you're not, and you might not be able to get out of it. So I don't know what I would do. Man, why do I have a feeling that Barry's going to get away with murder? But I guess it happens a lot. I mean, think about it. I'm sure it does happen a lot where people get away with it. So it sucks because I feel like there is enough circumstantial evidence, but I guess it's just not going to cut it. And the fact that they basically wouldn't let half their freaking key witnesses be a part of, the trial and testify, which I don't fully understand that. I'm going to have to look into this case. I followed up, but not as in depth as I do with some of the other cases. So I'm not sure exactly what was the deal with why wouldn't they let those witnesses testify? And then that means even in future trials that they probably can't. So then what the heck? If these are the witnesses they need and the testimony they need, they might not ever be able to get Barry, and he might get away with murder. Ah, man. Very frustrating.
The prosecution left out key evidence in their presentation to the grand jury. I mean, there was DNA, male DNA found, on several items that excluded, Barry. And so I think that gives him that's gross negligence. And that's what you need. They don't have immunity. They have qualified immunity. And if they can prove gross negligence, then they can go forward with their lawsuit. And you got to understand, when somebody gets arrested, your life gets burnt to the ground. I mean, they put you in handcuffs and walk you off, and there's nobody at home to feed the dogs, pay the bills. I mean, it burns your life to the ground, and that's what happened to him.
So you're saying you think the basis of this could hinge on what was presented to the grand jury?
Well, part of it, I mean, when you leave out exculpatory evidence, and they left it out on purpose, they had the evidence and they chose not to present it to the grand jury.
At the time of the grand jury is what you're saying.
Right, because it was going to make it hard for them to indict him. If there's DNA evidence that there's another male present, at the scene, then that's going to put some doubt in the grand jury's mind, and so they didn't want to, they wanted to have the best chance they could to win a grand jury, and there's no defense attorneys in a grand jury cross-examining people, and so they get to put on whatever they want, but we get to look at it later and challenge it, and that's kind of what they did.
Which is why they wouldn't have to put on everything, because it's just the probable.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna end it here. Got the birds chirping. It's 5:33 a.m. Haven't slept, so I think I should probably maybe get a couple hours of sleep. I just thought I'd share this with you. Get your thoughts. Hopefully you guys are all having a good, hopefully you will have a good weekend. Tomorrow's Friday. Hopefully I'll chat with you guys sometime this weekend before I go on my trip this week. So if not, have a good Memorial Day, Memorial Weekend, the next weekend. But I'm hoping I'll get one more video in before I leave. So, all right, guys, bye.